In this video, I'll tell you about miniature hobby burnout and how to hopefully prevent it. Ours is not a passive hobby. There are certainly hobbies that are more passive than others. TV and movies and music are good examples. You just kind of sit there and watch, or listen or whatever. But of course, those hobbies can actually be very active if you want them to be. Searching for new shows, new movies, new music, collecting vinyl and Blu-rays, discussing those things on the internet. It can actually be quite a lot. But at the end of the day, it's about absorbing the art, kind of letting it wash over you and enjoying it. Then, of course, there are hobbies that can be more active, like video games, where you're driving the story to certain degrees. You're Zelda and you're doing Zelda things or whatever. And, of course, then there's, on the very other end of the spectrum, there's very active hobbies like sports with the running and the jumping and the sweating and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I would say that our hobby is in the middle. Well, not exactly the middle between. Wargaming rarely makes you sweat. Acquiring the models, it isn't that physically hard. Getting the money together to make that happen in some situations can be difficult, right? And then of course there's the availability. Is it something that you can actually get? That kind of depends on these days. That all said, that once you've kind of acquired the models, right, then the building and the painting and etc. all kind of begins. These things aren't, again, like I said, physically taxing usually, but they're not always easy either, and that can cause burnout. You hear a lot about burnout out there these days, especially out on the internet. There's lots of videos about it, people talking about being burned out, all that kind of stuff. There's job burnout, but that's not just all of it. People can even get burned out on living in society. They can get burnt out on family or even friends. And people can get burned out on the hobbies that they enjoy, like, say, tabletop wargaming. Have you ever just not been able to face another unbuilt or unpainted miniature? Welcome to burnout. If I'm honest, I've been a little burnt out recently with the release of our new game, and then running the Tabletop Minions Expo the day after that release, and keeping up with the weekly video schedule and streaming on Twitch twice a week and all of that. It's been a little tough. And in identifying that, I decided to change things up, and well, that's why I'm filming down here in the Nerd Bunker today. It's important to try to stop burnout before it takes hold. Luckily, I haven't been burnt out on painting recently. I've been finishing up my Deathwatch Combat Patrol on Twitch and working on my Space Marine Combat Patrol painted as Blood Angels offline, not doing those online. It's been keeping me sane, frankly, but in the past, I've gotten burned out on the hobby, and as I've been doing this kind of a long time, I have some tips and tricks to help you to fight off that burnout. The important thing is to make a change before you actually get burnt out. As soon as you feel that this current project is a drag, it's not something that you're enjoying, whatever, remember that this isn't your job, it's your hobby. It's something you do for fun, to relax, for enjoyment. If you find yourself as a person who burns out easily, then at the first twinge of unhappiness with a project, put it on hold and switch to something else. This sounds like giving up, but it's not. You're not throwing the project in the garbage, right? Like, you're just stopping. You're like, well, I'm not going to ever finish this, and you chuck it. No, you're just putting it on hold. Set it aside on your hobby table, if you got lots of space, or maybe put it in some sort of a box, to have a go at again later, and then just start looking for something else to work on, something that sparks joy, right? Maybe it's another project that you set aside previously, and now's the time that you want to really decide to do this project instead, just start working on it. Maybe you want to work on some entirely new models that you just recently got and they excite you more than the models that you're working on right now. That's okay. It's not failure if you stop one project and start another. It's failure if you stop one project and don't start anything at all. Eventually, these stopped projects will be the project that you switch back to when some other project starts to burn you out. To some of you, this may seem chaotic, and you're not totally wrong, I'll admit. Some folks have no problem with burnout, but if you're a person who burns out easily, then switching gears to a new batch of minis, or maybe an old project that you didn't finish, or maybe you start working on some terrain, going completely different direction, all these things can help to keep you doing your hobby, not stalling and burning out. It's easier to keep moving by changing direction than it is to start moving once you've stopped. People generally get burned out on something when they do it too much. It has nothing to do with whether you enjoy it or not. I mean, even if you love doing something, you can eventually do too much of the same thing. I love painting miniatures, but I still won't paint more than, say, like 15 of the same mini at a single time because I know I'd get burnt out. But I'll easily switch to some other minis after getting done with those 15 and work on those, or terrain, or whatever, to keep me interested. I might have to paint 30 or 60 of the same model for some big army project. Relatively unlikely, but it could happen. But I'm never going to do it all in one thing because I'm sure to get burned out. The most important thing to remember is this. Hobbies should be fun. They should reduce stress, not cause it. If you dread, even a little bit, the idea of working on the project sitting on your hobby desk right now, then switch to something else. Something you haven't finished in the past, perhaps. It'll be a quick win. It'll make you feel good, right? Because it's almost done and all of a sudden, bam, now it's finished. There you go. Or start something new. Maybe something really new. Working on terrain is sometimes my go-to. Find yours and keep going. I hope this video helps to keep you from getting burnt out on your hobby time. And as always, if you've got some tips that I didn't touch on in this video, drop them in the comments down below so that we can all learn from them. If you liked this video, do me a solid and hit the like button down there. It really helps. Subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for watching.